Hello dear student, as you all know, we are studying about various modes of asexual reproduction. In it we have studied fission, budding, spore formation, etc. Now today we are studying about asexual reproduction in plants. In plants, asexual reproduction is also known as vegetative propagation. Vegetative propagation. Now first thing I need to tell you that in lower plants, asexual reproduction takes by various means like budding, fragmentation, etc., spore formation, etc. in plants like bryophytes, pteridophytes. In lower plants, the asexual reproduction basically takes place by budding, spore formation, and fragmentation. And in higher plants, flowering plants, various plant parts like root, leaf, stem, bud all act as agents of propagation. In higher plants, plants also are propagated by buds, by leaves, by root, by stem, bulbils, etc. There are so many structures, this kind of structures. So in higher plants, this plant propagation or asexual reproduction in plant takes place with help of these very structures. These are all you are seeing, these are all the vegetative parts of the plant. That's why the asexual reproduction here is called vegetative propagation. Means propagation of plant by means of its vegetative parts like leaf, root, stem, bud, etc. So, what is vegetative propagation? Propagation of plant by its vegetative parts. So, here we are going to discuss about these parts, how they help in vegetative propagation in detail. Vegetative propagation basically is divided into two parts. Vegetative propagation is of two kinds. First is natural and another one is artificial. Firstly, we will take up the natural methods of vegetative propagation. There are various organs of the plant which help in vegetative propagation. First part that we are going to talk about is stem. So, in stem, we will see now how the stems help in vegetative propagation. We will divide the stems into three categories. First category, we will study about underground stems, various underground stems, that how they help in vegetative propagation, underground stems. Next category will be creeping stems, and our third category would be of aerial stems. So taking the first category, that is underground stems. In case of underground stems, first that we will study is a tuber. Tuber example is potato. In case of potato, आप लोगों ने देखा होगा कि कभी भी जब आलू को बोया जाता है, उगाया जाता है, आलू का बीज आपने रेयरली देखा होगा. They are propagated vegetatively. When you see a potato, you see various scars on the surface of the potato. These scars represent the nodes, or simply these are called the eyes of the potato. Each eye is a node, and each node can give rise to a small plantlet. You must have seen this kind of structure growing on the potatoes in some time in your homes, and this small bud or arising from the node is a small baby plant. And if you want to propagate it in your soil, then what we will do, we will cut it into pieces. Each piece will have an eye or a node and a small chunk of potato also with it, chunk of potato, and sow in soil, and this eye will give rise to a new plant. So this was how tuber or the stems help in vegetative propagation. Second, in this category of underground stems is rhizome. In rhizome, we will take up example of ginger, or also we can see turmeric. In ginger also, there are this kind of striations, striated marks on the surface of the ginger. These striations represent the nodes, and these nodes here help in vegetative propagation, and these nodes will give rise to the new plant. So this was rhizome. Third category is corm. Corm is a highly specialized underground stem. Highly specialized underground stem. So what is corm? It is a special highly condensed stout structure containing very much condensed and crowded nodes and internodes, and from each node arises a small plant in the same way as we have studied earlier. So corm example, colocasia, that we call arbi in our local or native language, is corm. Next, in the category of underground stem comes the bulb. Bulb example here is onion and garlic. In onion and garlic both, there is a very small reduced stem. You must have seen roots coming out from that reduced stem, and whole shoot is condensed into that small bulb, and this small bulb, it can give rise to new plant. In case of onion garlic, there are bulbs are formed. Pause karo. Fifth in the category of underground stem is sucker. So in sucker we will take up example of mint, that is pudina. In this type of stems, how vegetative propagation takes place? Suppose this is the ground level, this is a stem, these are the roots, and this is the shoot. From here, from a node, a horizontal branch arises. This branch goes underneath the soil, and somewhere when it reaches the soil, when it touches the soil, now this here, it will again give rise to a new plant, and here roots will develop and the shoots will develop in this way. Now further, a horizontal branch will arise. This branch will go underneath the soil, and when this branch reaches the soil, it forms a loop-like structure but below the soil, and when it reaches the soil, here it will give rise to a new plant. Such kind of vegetative propagation is done by suckers like mint or pudina. So this was our underground stems. Now the second category, that is of creeping stems. Creeping stems. In creeping stem, first that we will take is runners. So runner, example is grass, is highly common. You have seen in grounds, etc. Its scientific name is Cynodon dactylion. In this, what happens? Suppose this is the ground level, this is one stem, one plant, these are the roots and these are the shoots. Now, in the same way as we have studied in sucker, a horizontal branch arises from here, a node from a node, like this. Now, whenever this horizontal branch that lies parallel to the ground, it touches soil, here it gives rise to a new plant. But here this branch contains multiple nodes and internode. Node, internode, node, internode, node, internode, like this, and this node when touches the soil, it produces a new plant. Now in the next plant, again a horizontal branch is produced from a node. Now in this branch there are multiple nodes and internodes. Suppose here is the node, this node touches the soil, here it will give rise to a new plant. This is the case with runners. Now the next category of plants in creeping stems which help in vegetative propagation, second category is offsets. These are basically aquatic runners. Example here is water hyacinth, that is, its scientific name is Eichhornia. What happens in offsets? Suppose this is the water level, this is one stem, these are the roots, and this is the shoot. All the plants I have shown inflated because aquatic plants are inflated or swollen to provide them buoyancy. Now what happens from here? From a node, a horizontal branch arises, as in case of runners. Now when this branch touches the water level, this will give rise to a new stem, roots and shoot. In the same way, from this plant also, a horizontal branch will rise. This horizontal branch, when touches the water surface, now will give rise to a new plant. These are the roots and this is the shoot. And in this way, this plant propagates vegetatively. What happens here? Sometimes this is very soft part. This horizontal branch is very soft. This branch degrades and the plant detaches from this plant, and now it is a new plant alone. And what is a difference between runner and offset? In runners, we have seen in the horizontal branch there were multiple nodes and internodes. But in case of these offsets, these are, we saying here there is one node and here it is another node. And these offsets, these are only one internode long runners. One internode long runners. One interesting thing I have to tell you about this water hyacinth is that this plant is exotic. It was brought from abroad to beautify our ponds and lakes. And later on what happened? This plant, it propagated vegetatively. It propagated so much that it completely deteriorated our water bodies, plants, and ponds and lakes. So that's why this plant is also known as Terror of Bengal. Terror of Bengal. So this was the offset. Third category that we will discuss in case of creeping stems are the stolon. Example is strawberry, that is Fragaria vesica. What happens in this? In the same way, this is suppose ground level. This is a plant here. These are the roots, and this is the shoot. Now what happens? A horizontal branch arises from this node. Now this horizontal branch, it does not run parallel to the ground. It takes a loop like this, and this loop or the node, when touches the ground, here it now again gives rise to a new plant this way. Again, from this plant also, a horizontal branch will arise. It will take a loop like this, will touch the ground and give rise to one another plant. So this was the case with stolons. Category is of aerial stems. In case of aerial stem, we will study example of cactus. Its scientific name is Opuntia. You know, in Opuntia, its leaf-like structures are actually the modified stems. these stems can fall or break off and fall off on the ground and give rise to new plants. So that was the case with Opuntia. Stem parts fall off and give rise to new plant. So in this lecture we studied about how various kind of stems help in vegetatively propagating the plants. Next we will study about the other plant parts which help in vegetative propagation.